Hi, welcome to week 2 of organizational behavior. This week, we'll be talking about values and attitudes. In chapter 2, we take some of the concepts we briefly covered in the last section, and we really dig a little bit deeper to define and apply these important constructs. We begin the chapter discussing attitudes. Our attitudes are critically important in determining our actions and behaviors, and acute awareness of our attitudes is essential and necessary for self-awareness. During this discussion, we will learn about cognitive dissonance and what we do to mitigate its effects. Psychologists Adjen and Fishbein further developed the work of Fessinger, so we will spend some time examining their models of intentions. Following this, we will examine the attitudes of good managers to track, organizational commitment, employee engagement, perceived organizational support, and job satisfaction. We will study why these employee attitudes are so important and what managers can do to develop worker attitudes. Of particular importance is job satisfaction, since it is an indicator of many positive organizational outcomes. So, using the integrative framework from last week, we have our inputs, processes, and outputs, or outcomes. You'll learn how values and personal attitudes, which are personal factor inputs, go towards various outcomes at the individual and organizational level. As we progress through the course, we'll add in other inputs and outcomes as well as the processes which tie these two together. So specifically this week, we will look at the individual level outcomes of task performance, workplace attitudes, well-being and flourishing, citizenship behavior and counterproductive behavior, turnover, accounting, financial performance, customer satisfaction, So we'll start the chapter with Schwartz's values theory. And it's covering the 10 core values that guide behaviors across contexts and time. And now they relate to 4 themes, Self-transcendence, conservation, self-enhancement, and openness to change. Realize and think about how they're on opposite ends of the spectrum, Self-transcendence versus self-enhancement, conservation versus openness to change. And as you read your text and work through the exercises this week, take a moment to think how managers can use the model to motivate employees. Now, the assignments for the week include your Learn Smart assignment, 2 self-assessments and a journal. Please write in your journal any thoughts, observations. It's for your own personal benefit. See what you can take away from there. There's a voice thread discussion where we're focused on the job satisfaction component of things. And then the problem-solving application case study. I've attached an APA template via our library for you to use when writing out this case study. So again, Chapter 2, Learn Smart. There's a little practice talking about Schwartz's values theory, your self-assessments in your journal, your voice thread discussion, and your problem-solving case study. Read through the whole thing, and at the end, I have posed you 3 questions. There's attached APA template you can use. The first question was the problem. Define the problem of the case. Remember the problem to be the difference between the desired and the actual. Where is the problem? Where does the problem lie? What is the most critical component? Use an integrative framework to help identify the outcomes that are important in this case. Which of these outcomes are not being achieved in this case? And what is the most important problem in this case? Reference back to week 1, the video you watched, about retrograde analysis. We're working backwards in this case, We're working backwards in all of our cases when looking at the integrative framework. What outcomes are not being achieved? Where is the problem in the outcome? And then work backwards. So as we work backwards, the second part is use the integrative framework to identify the organizational behavioral concepts and theories that help you understand the problems in this case, Environmental characteristics, personal factors, What concepts and theories, because we'll bring in processes eventually. And then the third part, what are your recommendations for solving the problem? How do we fix this problem? Alright, if you have any questions this week, feel free to email me or call, or we can request some virtual office hours if needed. Have a great week.